Nearly 4 in 10 Americans over the age of 70 have peripheral neuropathy. That's not a small number. That's your neighbor, your spouse, maybe you. And here's what makes that stat even more alarming. Research confirms that more than 60% of people who have it have never been told by their doctor. That's not a small number. That's your neighbor, your spouse, maybe you. And here's what makes that stat even more alarming. Research confirms that more than 60% of people who have it have never been told by their doctor. Not because their doctor doesn't care, but because neuropathy in the feet and legs is one of the most underdiagnosed, undertreated conditions in people over 60. And the cost of missing it isn't just discomfort. It's your balance, your independence, your ability to walk without fear. If you've been feeling numbness in your feet, or tingling, burning, or that strange sensation like your feet just don't feel like yours anymore, I want you to stay right here, because in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening inside your body, why this gets worse with every passing year you don't address it, and most importantly, 7 exercises you can start doing today that are backed by real science to help turn this around. Stay with me, this one matters. I've spent my career watching patients get told one of the most deflating things a doctor can say. That's just part of getting older. It isn't, and I'm here to prove it. Today you're going to learn 3 things. First, what is actually happening in your nerves and why it gets worse after 60. Second, the overlooked root cause most doctors completely miss, and it's probably not what you think. And third, 7 specific research-backed exercises that target this problem at its source. These aren't vague suggestions. They're structured movements with specific mechanisms, and I'm going to explain exactly why each one works, not just tell you to do them. And near the end, I'll share something that almost never comes up in a standard appointment, something the research has been pointing to for over a decade that could change how you manage this. Let's get into it. Let me tell you something that will change everything. I promise you. I want you living longer, stronger, and healthier, well past the age everyone told you to slow down. So, I took everything I tell my own patients, the food, the timing, the small daily habits that actually move the needle, and I put it into one simple plan. It has already helped thousands of people over 60 get their energy and their numbers back. If you want it, the link is sitting right there on your screen and in the description below whenever you are ready for it. Now, let's begin. I want you to picture something. You wake up in the morning, you sit on the edge of your bed, and the moment your feet touch the floor, something feels off. Not pain exactly, more like distance. It's like your feet are wrapped in cotton, like the signal between your feet and your brain is traveling through a bad phone connection. Maybe you've already felt that. Maybe it's been going on for months or longer, and you've been quietly hoping it would just go away on its own. That feeling has a name. It's called peripheral neuropathy, and it means your peripheral nerves, the ones that run from your spine all the way down to the tips of your toes, are struggling to do their job. Now, most people hear neuropathy and immediately think diabetes. And yes, diabetes is one cause. But here's something that surprises a lot of my patients. Research shows that peripheral neuropathy affects about 1 in 4 Americans over the age of 70, and a significant portion of those people have perfectly normal blood sugar. Let that land for a second. You don't have to be diabetic to have neuropathy. Age alone is a major driver, and the older you get, the higher that risk climbs. So why does aging do this? Here's the simple version. Your peripheral nerves are living tissue. They need a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients delivered through tiny blood vessels called capillaries, the smallest vessels in your body, thinner than a human hair. As we age, those tiny vessels narrow, blood flow slows, and the nerves don't get what they need. Over time, they start to misfire or stop firing altogether. That's where the numbness comes from. That's where the tingling starts. And here's where I need to introduce what I call the real villain in this story. Because it's not the one most people expect. It's not diabetes, it's not a vitamin deficiency, it's not even age itself. The real villain is something I call nerve microcirculation collapse. It's the slow, progressive shutdown of those tiny capillaries that are supposed to keep your nerves alive. It can happen quietly in people with normal blood sugar, normal cholesterol, normal everything, simply because the microvascular system in the lower legs and feet is the most vulnerable part of your entire circulatory network. Your doctor isn't looking for that. They're looking for diabetes, for structural damage, for obvious causes. But this slow vascular starvation flies under the radar for years, and because peripheral neuropathy is a confirmed independent risk factor for falls in older adults, not a marker for something else, but a direct cause, the stakes couldn't be higher. So let's talk about what you can actually do, because once you understand the mechanism, the solution starts to make a lot of sense. These 7 exercises are designed to do 2 things: restore blood flow to the nerves that have been starved of it, and retrain the communication pathways between your feet and your brain. Some of them you can do sitting down, most take less than 5 minutes. And the research behind them is solid. Let's go through each one. Exercise 1, the morning ankle alphabet. Before your feet even touch the floor in the morning, I want you doing this. Sit on the edge of your bed, lift 1 foot off the ground, and slowly trace the letters of the alphabet in the air with your big toe. Large, deliberate movements, A through Z, then switch feet. Why it works? This isn't just a warm-up. Every letter you trace pushes your ankle through its full range of motion in multiple planes. That movement mechanically pumps blood into the microvascular network surrounding your lower leg nerves, the very capillaries that have been starving overnight while you slept, and your circulation slowed. The research, a meta-analysis published in a peer-reviewed journal, confirmed that regular aerobic and resistance exercise significantly increases levels of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, your body's primary nerve repair protein. But you don't have to run a marathon to trigger it. Gentle, consistent lower limb movement is enough to start that process. So what does this mean for you? Those 3 minutes before you stand up aren't just feel-good movement. You're priming your nerve tissue for the demands of the day. You're lowering the odds of that first wobbly step. Do this every single morning. Exercise 2, toe spread and towel scrunch. Call it the foot wake-up. Place a small hand towel flat on the floor. Sit in a chair. Use your bare toes to scrunch the towel toward you, grabbing it, pulling, releasing. 10 repetitions. Then spread your toes as wide as you possibly can. Hold for 3 seconds. Release. 3 sets, each foot. Why it works. Most people over 60 have essentially stopped using the intrinsic muscles of their feet, the small muscles inside the foot itself, not the calf or shin. When those muscles go dormant, they stop sending proprioceptive signals to your brain. Proprioception, your body's ability to know where it is in space, depends heavily on your feet. When those signals weaken, your balance suffers. Your brain is flying blind. The research, a systematic review and meta-analysis, confirmed that targeted lower limb exercise significantly improved toe strength and lower extremity function in patients with peripheral neuropathy. Toe strength isn't vanity. It's the foundation of every step you take. So what does this mean for you? This exercise reactivates muscles that may not have been asked to work properly in years. 3 sets, 10 reps. Do it while you're watching the morning news. It costs you nothing. Exercise 3, heel to toe weight shifts. Call it the balance reset. Stand at a kitchen counter with both hands lightly resting on the edge, just for safety, not for support. Shift your weight slowly forward onto the balls of your feet. Hold for 2 seconds. Shift back onto your heels. Hold for 2 seconds. Repeat 15 times. Why it works. Your peripheral nerves aren't just responsible for sensation. They're responsible for balance signaling. Every time your weight shifts, thousands of nerve receptors in the soles of your feet are supposed to fire signals up to your brain, telling it exactly where your center of gravity is. When neuropathy silences those signals, your balance deteriorates, not because your muscles are weak, but because the communication line is broken. This exercise reopens that line deliberately, repeatedly. Now stay with me here, because this next part is the one most people get completely wrong. Most people try to fix neuropathy balance problems by strengthening their legs. And leg strength matters, but the real problem often isn't muscular, it's neurological. You're not training muscles here. You're training nerve pathways. That's a fundamentally different target, and it needs a fundamentally different approach. So what does this mean for you? Do this every day. Your goal isn't to stop holding the counter. Your goal is to feel the feedback from your feet more clearly each time. That clarity, when it starts to return, is your nervous system healing. Exercise 4, textured surface walking. Call it the Nerve-Awakener. Fold a bath towel into a thick rectangle and place it on the floor. Walk back and forth across it in bare feet for 5 minutes. If you have a textured yoga mat, even better. If you want to progress over time, a smooth pebble mat works beautifully. Why it works. This is sensory nerve retraining. Your peripheral nerves respond to input. When you walk on a uniform, smooth surface your entire life, hardwood, carpet, tile, you deprive your foot nerves of the varied sensory signals they need to stay active and organized. Walking barefoot on an uneven or textured surface delivers a controlled flood of new sensory information. It forces the nerve fibers in your feet to process, adapt, and respond. That demand, that signal traffic, stimulates the regeneration of small nerve fibers in the skin of the foot. I want to pause here, because what I'm about to tell you surprised even me when I first saw the data. Aerobic exercise has been shown to increase the actual branching of skin nerve fibers in people with neuropathy. Not just manage symptoms, literally promote nerve fiber regrowth. The mechanism involves nerve growth factor, NGF, which is upregulated by physical activity, including gentle sensory loading of the feet. So what does this mean for you? 5 minutes, bare feet, textured surface, every day. This isn't complicated, but it is powerful. Exercise 5. Standing calf raises. Call it the Venous pump. Stand at your counter, rise up onto the balls of your feet as high as you comfortably can. Hold for 1 second at the top, lower slowly, 2 sets of 15 repetitions. Why it works? Here's a piece of basic anatomy with profound implications. Your calf muscles act as a secondary pump for your circulatory system. Every time they contract, they physically squeeze blood upward through the veins of your lower legs. That venous return, blood flowing back toward your heart, is what keeps inflammatory waste products from pooling in the tissue surrounding your nerves. When those nerves are already inflamed, pooling metabolic waste makes everything worse. Calf raises flush it out. Think of it like wringing out a sponge. The research. Studies consistently show that lower extremity vascular function is one of the primary modifiable factors in peripheral neuropathy progression. Exercise that targets venous return, specifically calf pump mechanics, directly reduces the inflammatory environment your nerves are sitting in. So what does this mean for you? This exercise works best when done toward the end of your session, after you've already been moving for a few minutes. 2 sets, 15 reps, slow and controlled. Not about power, about circulation. Exercise 6. Seated leg extensions with ankle flex. Call it the nerve line stretch. Sit in a firm chair, extend one leg out in front of you until it's straight. Flex your foot, pulling your toes back toward your shin as far as they'll go. Hold for 5 seconds. Point your foot. Hold for 5 seconds. Lower. 10 repetitions each leg. Why it works? This movement does something specific and underappreciated. It creates neural tension along the entire sciatic and perineal nerve pathway, which runs from your lower back all the way down to your toes. Gently tensioning and releasing a nerve, the same way you might floss a tight tendon, promotes blood flow within the nerve itself, reduces adhesions, and improves nerve mobility. This is a technique called neural mobilization, and it's standard practice in neurological physical therapy. Most people have never heard of it. Most doctors never mention it, but here's where it gets really interesting. Research suggests that nerves that have been compressed or have lost mobility due to poor circulation respond to gentle, dynamic loading, the same way tendons and muscles do. They adapt. They become more resilient. Signal conduction improves. So what does this mean for you? You're not just stretching your leg, you're gently flossing the very nerve trunk that serves your entire lower extremity. Do it slowly. Never push into pain. The target sensation is a mild, tolerable stretch, not a sharp pull. Exercise 7, slow marching in place. Call it the rhythm reset. Stand at your counter and march in place slowly for 2 minutes. Lift each knee to about hip height. Let your arms swing naturally. No rushing. This isn't cardio. This is coordination. Why it works. Marching, specifically slow, deliberate marching, reintegrates the entire proprioceptive chain. It forces your brain to process alternating balance demands from your feet, coordinate with your hips and core, and manage the timing of weight transfer. For someone with neuropathy, every single one of those steps is a nerve pathway exercise. The research. Simple foot and ankle exercises performed just 3 times per week for 8 weeks produced measurable reductions in neuropathic pain, with those benefits still present at the 16-week follow-up. Consistency, not intensity, is what drives improvement. So what does this mean for you? End every session with 2 minutes of slow marching. It ties everything together. It reestablishes the rhythm between your feet and your brain, and it sends a clear message to your nervous system. This body is still moving. These pathways still matter. Here's something I rarely have enough time to cover in a standard appointment, and honestly, I wish I did. Most patients with peripheral neuropathy get sent home with one of 2 things: a prescription for nerve pain medication, or a referral to a neurologist with a 3-month wait. What they almost never get is a conversation about movement. And here's why that matters more than most people realize. Research suggests that peripheral neuropathy is frequently undertreated, not because there's no solution, but because the standard clinical visit doesn't include a movement assessment. Studies indicate that targeted lower limb exercise can stimulate the production of both nerve growth factor and BDNF, the proteins your body uses to actually repair and regenerate damaged nerve fibers. Let me say that again. These are proteins tied to nerve regeneration, and exercise triggers them, not medication. Exercise. The data on exercise-induced neuroplasticity and peripheral neuropathy has been building for over a decade. Multiple peer-reviewed meta-analyses now support it, but it hasn't made it into the 10-minute primary care appointment. Not yet. Most people will never hear this from their doctor, not because it's a secret, not because their doctor is withholding it, but because appointments are short, medications are fast, and movement-based interventions take explanation. You now have that explanation, and here's what I want you to understand. It is not too late. The nervous system has plasticity at every age. The research is clear on that. Your nerves can respond to the right input, even now. The goal isn't to wait for a cure. The goal is to give your body what it needs to start healing itself. So let's make this actionable. Right now, today, here's how I want you to put all of this together into a routine you can actually stick to. Step 1. Do the morning ankle alphabet before your feet hit the floor. Every single morning, 3 minutes, both feet. This is your non-negotiable. It starts the day by restoring microvascular blood flow before you put any weight through your legs. You may notice within a few weeks that your first steps in the morning feel more stable. That's not placebo. That's circulation. Step 2. Do the foot wake up and the balance reset together in a single 10-minute session 3 times a week. Towel scrunches, toe spreads, and heel-to-toe weight shifts. You can do this while the coffee brews. You don't need a gym, you don't need equipment. A towel and a counter are enough. For the balance reset specifically, pay attention to how it feels over time. Early on, you might feel very little sensation feedback from your feet. That's the neuropathy. But over weeks of consistent practice, some of that sensation begins to return. Research suggests that simple lower limb exercises done 3 times a week for 8 weeks can produce measurable pain reduction, with effects that last beyond the training period. Step 3. Add the Nerve-Awakener and calf raises daily. 5 minutes of textured surface walking, then 2 sets of calf raises. This combination targets both the sensory nerve fibers and the venous pump, hitting the problem from 2 angles at once. Think of it as a daily dose of nerve medicine that costs nothing. Step 4. 3 times a week, add the nerve line stretch and slow marching. These are your nervous system integration exercises. The seated leg extension with ankle flex targets the nerve pathway directly. The slow march ties everything together. Combined, they close the loop between your feet and your brain. Now, I want to be honest with you about expectations. This is not a 2-week fix. Nerve tissue heals slowly, but it does heal. Most people who do these exercises consistently begin noticing real changes between weeks 4 and 8. Better balance first, then less tingling, then, for many, reduced burning at night. If you have significant neuropathy, I also want to encourage you to bring this conversation to your own doctor. Ask about physical therapy for neuropathy specifically. Ask about BDNF and nerve growth factor. Ask whether your current treatment plan includes any movement-based intervention. You deserve that conversation, and now you know what questions to ask. You can do these exercises. You are not past the point of benefit, and the simple act of starting today, even just the ankle alphabet tomorrow morning, puts you ahead of the majority of people living with this condition. Let me bring this all together. You now understand what peripheral neuropathy actually is, what's causing it at the level of your smallest blood vessels, and why it's been so easy for it to slip through the cracks of a 10-minute doctor's visit. More importantly, you now have 7 specific exercises grounded in real research that target this problem at its source. Not by masking it, but by addressing the mechanism. The numbness, the tingling, the burning, those are signals. Your nervous system asking for something, movement, circulation, input. These exercises are your answer. If this kind of honest, practical health information is useful to you, I'd love for you to subscribe. I put out a new video every week. No fluff, no selling, just the things that actually matter for your health after 60, and I promise every one of them is worth your time. And speaking of that, next week I'm covering something that connects directly to everything we talked about today. The real reason you're losing balance after 60, and the 5-minute fix most doctors never mention. If today's video resonated with you, that one is going to hit even harder. I'll see you there. Take good care of yourself, and start with the alphabet tomorrow morning.